It's been a minute, but it's nice to finally find an X-Men comic that reads relatively like an X-Men comic. This is Rogue, the Savage Land, issue 1. And right off the bat, what kind of drew me to this comic? No, not the cover. Come on now. Was the fact that they actually kind of went old school and used the old trade dressing here with having Rogue and Kazar and Magneto. That was awesome. And then, of course, since the Comic Authority code has been disbanded, I love that it says approved by the Mutant Code Authority. A little cheesy, but still awesome. So I'll give them kudos for that. And yes, the cover is beautiful all around. It's a very nice composition. And I love it. It's been a while since, you've seen dialogue on a cover and Rogue saying, "Oh, sugar, do I have a story for you?" So, and what I love to, now I've said this and I'll say it again, I was not, for the longest time, not a fan of Tim Seeley. A lot of what I read from him was either, it felt too like Tumblr jokey for me, but I kind of feel like he's starting to find his footing. I could be wrong, but let's give credit where credit is due. This takes place shortly after, where is it? Hold on, let's dive into who made the book first before we get into anything. All right. So it says, unable, okay, no, we're not going to get into Rogue. Wait, if you want to read that, pause it. It says, to save the X-Men from a long-time adversary, Rogue sacrificed herself by forcing the threat in herself through a mystical gate known as the Siege Perilous. Months later, Rogue reemerged from the Siege Perilous, chased by a mind-controlled Ms. Marvel. Saved by the teleporter gateway, Rogue now finds herself powerless, alone, and vulnerable in a way she hasn't been in years. And so I love that it says previously in Uncanny X-Men 247, which we have gone over, so I'll leave a card somewhere in this review. So again, and I've said this before, the X-Men would definitely not be where they were if it was not for Chris Claremont. Yes, Stan Lee and Jack Kirby laid the foundation, but it was Len Wein, Chris Claremont, Louis Simonson, John Byrne, Dave Cockrum, and Ann Nisanti that really set the tone of the X-Men, along with Bob McLeod and the New Mutants. This is writer Tim Seeley, artist Zulema Scotto Lavina. If I pronounce that wrong, feel free to make fun of me. Colorist is Rachel Rosenberg. I don't know if that's Rachel or Rachel. Again, VC's Ariana Maher doing the lettering. Cover art is... sometimes I feel like they put these names to put me through an endurance test. I'm just saying. Hadari Andrews? Sure. And unfortunately, you got your plethora of, what do you call it, variant covers. So I point out the intro page because, a lot of us older comic readers are getting older. So, say Mr. 18, 20-year-old goes into a comic shop and sees this and sees a good-looking woman on the cover. Cool, but he's not going to know, unless he had parents that grew him up on comics, he's not going to know what the hell this is coming from. So I appreciate that they at least mentioned, without going into too much detail, what the Siege Perilous is, why the the fall of the mutants is important, as well as the Australian outback era of the X-Men. So here we get a quick summary. It says the Siege Perilous. Ain't that just the most X-Men kind of thing ever? Well, and it says it's some ancient magic crystal portal to the multiverse, where one is judged by the highest powers that be. Well, I went through it, got pulled apart and put back together, figuring I'd have my fate decreed by a cosmic muckety muck. Instead, I dropped into my little pad in Australia wearing my birthday suit and minus the superpowers I'd stole from Ms. Marvel. Before I could even pull on a pair of Levi's, Carol Danvers came knocking. She ain't a fan of me, and she's basically a human F-15. So I ran, stopping only to borrow the powers of Gateway because the girl just can't have enough portals in her life. I love being old with double entendres. But it gives you an idea why she's in the Savage Lands. Like, why do we care that she's in the Savage Lands? So this is Heroes Never Come Home, Part 1, So Alive. And so Rogue talks about when she first entered, she was by herself. Like, Magneto didn't immediately find her. And so she had to figure out how to hunt and whatnot. So in a sense, it says, I was going to have to play Castaway until someone sends a Blackbird after me. Fine by me. I figured my parents used to leave me high and dry for weeks without any, what does it say? high and dry for weeks anytime Fish would go on tour. That's an old reference. I don't. Is Fish that old? Are we that old now? Now, okay. With that said, if you go back and read, I can't remember what issue of Classic X-Men it is, but it's essentially Uncanny X-Men 140. No, hold on. What is it? Damn it. You guys know what I'm talking about. Days of Future Past. 141 and 142, right? So this would be one. You get the year. But anyway, it's the reprint of Jean Grey's funeral. But at the end of it, it shows Rogue when she was a girl and she kissed her first love, Cody, and then she ran home to Mystique and Destiny, and that's when they kind of went off to do the Brotherhood. Has there been an issue where we actually see her biological parents and that's legit, or is that just something that Tim Seeley came up with? Because I'm trying to draw through all my information of X-Men, and I don't recall ever seeing Rogue's biological parents anywhere that I could think of. So let me know down in the comments. And so we kind of get a quick, what do you call it? Not montage. It's not the word we're looking for. Well, I guess you could call it a montage because it's kind of a passing of time. But she's talking about how, well, I found out pretty quick that there was nothing like scrounging. This was nothing like trying to scrounge fish sticks and energy drinks at a 7-Eleven. A few important lessons is if you're ever planning on running around a Jurassic jungle in a one piece and thigh highs. Number one, everything around you is just as hungry and thirsty as you are. Number two, and you can see she's starting to hurt from all this. Don't ever drink from nothing bigger than a rain puddle, because we get this cool scene. Now, I wish the artwork was more dynamic, like the original Uncanny X-Men 247. I think it was 247. Because a lot of these just look like the art. Like the art's good. Don't get me wrong. I'm not bashing the art per se, but it just looks like they were looked at like models posing. It just feels more like poses instead of actual like anatomically correct the way a person would move. But nonetheless, I love how we kind of get her established. She's finally kind of found her footing in the Savage Land. It says number 5. Probably most important. If you're bashful, you best get over that quick, because the Savage Land will tear your super suit faster than a couple of rounds with the Juggernaut. And so it kind of shows that Rogue's finally figured out her way, but he's talking about how it's gotten lonely at nights because there's nobody. And so she says, the nights are hard. As long as I've been here, I hadn't encountered another person, not even some grunt monkey man with a club. My powers had made it so I couldn't be able to be touched like a normal person since I hit puberty. It was used to being lonely, but I'd never been so alone. My powers also made it so everyone I touched had some of their memories vacuumed into my little skunk head, where they hung about until they finally faded like the buzz of a cicada. Cody, Ms. Marvel, Captain America, Wolverine, Storm. Now most days I tell you that was a curse. But during the nights, and I do like that it shows her in dismayed, and then all of a sudden we see this kind of like hopeful look, and she reaches out her hands. And that's a nice visual storytelling, because we see all the ghosts of all the remnants of memories in her mind. Listening to them share their stories was the only blessing I had. The name of a good dog, the secret clubhouse password from the summers before 4th grade, the funny way Grandpa complained about rap music, electronic torches they'd share their first kiss and last. My mom had never been around past dark to sing to me. Just a great human interest moment to show how Rogue's getting through this, and how even though her power is a curse, it's also a blessing because she can share those feelings, even though they're the most, what do you call it? Not, what's the word I'm looking for? Most cherished memories of someone else, but she's sharing them. So it is a blessing and a curse, but it's very nice. And then we kind of start to tie into Magneto and how he saved her, and he was able to get his powers back. But I like how they don't go through everything that was happening in the X-Men books. Eventually, they do team up with Nick Fury, and they got to fight. Oh hell, what the hell is her name? This chick, Zeladane. And so it kind of starts to build up to that battle towards the end of the book. And what I like about with Magneto here is he goes, the civilized world holds nothing for me. I no longer wish to be a part of Charles Xavier's dream, nor do I desire to thwart it. And also, you got other house guests? No. And I was quite pleased about that. But as you've seen, there's conflict brewing in the Savage Land. Maybe some errant warrior displaced and unexpected. It might house a cache of weapons. Or one of my failed mutates might seek revenge. And so Magneto goes to attack, and not bad art. But we kind of find out that Zabu, Khazar's, it's Khazar, however you pronounce it, his companion. And you can start to see this plot unfold. And so it's been a long time where I've read an X-Men comic and actually felt like I was really having fun. Now, could that be part member berries because I know the story? Sure. But still, I thoroughly enjoyed it. Now, I will say that the cover artist I do wish was the interior artist because this I feel is more X-Men-y than some of this. You do find the stakes about Khazar, which I don't want to spoil the book for you guys. I want you to go read it and why you want to care about Khazar and Zaladane. But overall, it's nice to dive back into what Claremont had established and to just, in my personal opinion, get away from all the Krakoan and da-da-da-da-da, and to kind of start to go back to when the X-Men were good in the 70s and 80s. So if you are an X-Men fan, if you're a Rogue fan, if you're a Magneto fan, if you're a Savage Land fan, this comic is definitely up your alley. And because they use the old Marvel Comics logo here in the trade dressing, I know, member berries. Don't care. Enjoyed it. So if you've enjoyed what you've seen, guys, please first and foremost run to your local comic shop and grab this issue. If you've enjoyed this review, really would appreciate if you take a moment to like, share, and subscribe. Helps the channel more than you could possibly know. And if you won't mind hitting that fancy little X bell next, subscribe. That way, as I get full content, you guys get notified. Come to the channel, and I love talking with y'all and hearing your thoughts and feedback down in the comments or the socials, which I'll make sure to leave the links down in the description. So with all that said, hope y'all continue to have an absolutely amazing day reading, and happy hunting, everyone.